Monday, March 2nd, 2026. Proof of life. Today I'm going to go through the histories of where we got here. Starting with, we know first thing was Runnymede, which is the Magna Carta, which has avoided civil war. I forgot which king it was. Acquiesced to the nobles' demands. Now I'm not sure if a member of this is before or after. I think it's after they walled off the commons. Then we're going to fast forward, even though there's a lot of other history in British history, to the colonies. And colonies, the rich planters wanted a way to break free, so they came up with they used the regular folk to start the Boston Tea Party and kick off the American Revolution, which is an outshoot of the Enlightenment period, which is coming out of religious control of Europe after the fall of the Roman Empire, which then just transferred into a church, and of course England transferred into a bank. And we look at our Constitution as it was designed to give those who they deemed were people, which were those who owned land and were Caucasian men of that time, power. But then the structure was basically the same thing as a king, except it was a rotating king. It wasn't until the Bill of Rights, at least as stated by Tad Stormer, which was a counter to that. And when you look at the Bill of Rights, even though the First Amendment was the third, which was the first was a Bill of Consciousness, i.e. one could be alive. What is the meaning of being alive? The ability to have silence, to have your own space, to have your own thoughts in privacy. Something that the U.S. Navy has been violating to Americans ever since, and probably before, but most definitely ever since the traitorous admiral placed the rest of the traitorous admirals as Navy SEALs. McRaven, who's nothing more than a Southern bigot, still fighting the Civil War, but I digress. So those first 10 amendments, as we call it, the First Republic, we're all about, these are the things necessary to keep your psychopaths from fucking with our psychopaths, essentially. And then, of course, we had the Second Republic after the Civil War, where we finally got tired of the slavers. But the psychopaths are very clever, and they didn't want to, and these Southern bigots didn't want to give up their power and their little fiefdoms. As we all know, it's like if you're a certain age, remember the Dukes of Hazzard, Boss Hogg and Resco, P. Coltrane, and all that shit. That was actually real. And it's still real today. That's why I was watching, one person stated, I forgot who, at least I wasn't paying attention, but it made a point that still one family will control an entire county. And then if they want to eat or whatever, they have to vote the way that one business tells them to. Now we're doing that across the entire country with the Zionist Larry Ellison owning 25% of our media, which will probably grow even more so. Things we forgot after World War II. Anywho, back to the Second Republic, which was everything of the 14th Amendment, which is something the Southern bigots have been going apeshit trying to get rid of. Then you go into women's suffrage, as we've expanded who a person is. Right? The religious bigots of the South, after civil rights, went to the Republicans, but the Democrats, still with all their Dixiecrats, who's supposed to be the party of the working class, when they were just party of with Hillary and all that, the Clintons. Hillary was a Republican,